and they were
like the statistics you're saying, like you're not actually like first of all, this is a different one, but like sex work, there's girls who give $5 sex on the street. Okay, yeah, I bet that the STD rate is higher with that. There's girls who do tit pics on OnlyFans. There's no correlation. Sex work is so broad, and so you saying like the STD rate is higher with girls who do OnlyFans. We all get tested. We all get tested. We don't shoot with anyone who doesn't get tested.
Would you like for me to read off the stats of how much higher it is with people who engage in any type of sexuality on camera, be it fans with BG or non-BG content, or with just regular prostitution, or with just regular porn? It is significantly higher than the society.
Then it was then how long ago? Then it was how long ago before there was all this database to put into statistics?
What do you mean? Well, we've been keeping track of things like STDs for a long, long time.
Of course.
We know
I'm not saying that we haven't.
Wait, hang on. We know what these rates were pre-legalization of what we would consider degeneracy, or when they began to rule that porn was protected under the First Amendment. So this very idea that you have that we just don't know is absurd. We do know. We do know. We know exactly how low they were, and they were a lot lower. There's no doubt about it.
Well, can't you just say that would just be the general promiscuity of society? Because I doubt that when somebody goes to a testing clinic and they say, "Oh, you have this," they're like, "Oh, I'm an OnlyFans creator." Like, they don't ask you that.
Yeah, no. Actually, they do ask you that. There's especially
certain,
if you go into free.
Yeah.
Especially,
I mean, there's certain, but there's not.
Hang on. I'm going to tell you, they do indeed ask you that. Yes.
You're
and
like
by the way,
boxing her off. Can you give her space?
All you need to do is take X amount of a sampling from an industry and test it to get a really good idea of how prevalent it is in that industry in comparison to the general population.
Hey, but the general population doesn't get tested nearly as much as fans and sex and porn people.
Stop. Everybody stop. Hold on. Go ahead.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll let you respond. I promise.
Well, the general public doesn't get tested nearly as much as we do, so the numbers are going to be different.
So I'll tell you what. Why don't you go ahead and make your argument, and then when you're done, give me like the high sign or the signal, and then I'll make the argument.
I just did.
Okay, we'll do it again so I can hear it this time. Go ahead.
This isn't really about the OnlyFans. This is just kind of something that.
Wait, hang on. Can before you jump in, can I just finish with her? I'm almost done. We're almost done, I think.
Of course.
Can you just repeat what you just said so that I understand what you just said?
The general population doesn't get tested nearly as much as people in the industry do. Before I got into the industry, I didn't get tested at all, and same with all my friends who aren't in it. And that is just a fact. But numbers might show higher because we're the ones getting tested.
Yeah, that would be called a sampling bias. And so inside of a study, you take a sampling bias and you do what's called a compensation for a sampling bias. That's literally it's called a control. That's how you do a controlled study. So if you have a sampling bias where one particular demographic of a population is tested more heavily than another, you would create an offset for the purpose of that study. That's literally how that's done. So what you're talking about there is easily accounted for.
Okay.
I actually have some thoughts on the whole STD thing. So I think it was your position. You said that the STD rates are lower among sex workers. What's your position?
I didn't state that there were any. I wasn't quoting any statistics. I just said that I feel that it can be safer because people are more conscientious about testing and using protection and having those conversations that many people would think is uncomfortable in the heat of the moment. You got to talk about all that stuff before you start filming.
Yeah, so a couple things, and then I'll know what your position is. Your position that the STD rate is lower among?
No, I literally actually don't know the rates. I'm just saying that I don't know. I know that before I got in the industry versus now, I get tested.
Well, so here's kind of the line of the conversation.
Just as of 2011, just to tell you, the studies found that gonorrhea rates alone were 64 times higher than the general population and 18 18 times higher than Los Angeles County, which is considered one of the most promiscuous in the world, for residents 18 to 29. So 18 times higher than the most promiscuous county they could find, and 64 times higher than the general population. So yeah, I would say they're higher. They're a lot higher.
Yeah, but that statistic is 2011. That was 14 years ago.
Yeah. But do you want to see what it's like in modern times? Even it's not any better.
Yes,
I mean, I would like to know, just education
Do you
for
have
myself.
a study from 2023?
I have no problem saying I'm wrong.
Well, it's not going to be from 2023 likely, but probably 2021, 2022. You wouldn't see a huge fluctuation in a couple of years.
Usually, like when I look up things, like the latest one will be 2023, 2024. I'm not disagreeing with that either. May I speak on
The other thing? No, not yet.
Not the
Yeah,
no
so I'll
of
have
an
to-
STD of STDs.
Yeah, hold on just a sec. So I guess the confusion here is that I believe Andrew cited, well, one of the, I guess, downfalls of the sex work industry is the higher incidence rate of STDs. Both of you kind of argued that, well, this really isn't the case, although it is. There's studies to back this up. And then further, I mean, you guys mentioned testing. You guys are both doing OnlyFans. Do you shoot in the traditional industry, correct?
No.
You don't?
No.
You've never?
I don't traditional industry. I don't shoot mainstream.
Mainstream.
I don't shoot mainstream.
You only do OnlyFans?
Only do OnlyFans.
Same with me.
I mean, we do a bit of research on the panelists beforehand.
You can look it up. I've never done any mainstream, and I don't know who you were seeing, but it wasn't me, I promise.
Okay, but you've done collaborations with other people, and it's been distributed on their platforms?
Only on OnlyFans.
On your OnlyFans or other
my
people's?
My OnlyFans and other people's OnlyFans, but never mainstream. And you can't find any of my videos on like Hub.
Okay. But you do shoot scenes with men, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And perhaps you guys can inform me on this. Is there, does not compel you to get tested, correct?
No, but we are just.
But you guys do it.
We just do it,
yeah,
of course. I wouldn't shoot with anybody who doesn't.
Have you guys ever not done testing before shooting?
I've never not in my life.
And we also use protection in addition to testing.
Really?
Yes.
I don't, but
I mean, a lot of.
But if somebody shows me a clean test within X amount of days, and I show them a clean test in X amount of days, we're good to shoot.
And so these tests, though, they're not full panel tests.
They're full panel tests.
No, they're not. Do they test for herpes and HPV?
Yes, they do.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't. They don't test for herpes typically.
The ones that I do test for it.
Really?
Yeah.
Where do you go? You have to ask for it, but they can do
I don't
tests
know
for
what you're
herpes.
talking about.
Well, my understanding, when we've had plenty of OnlyFans girls and people in the traditional industry, they typically are not testing for herpes. Even in the general population, if you go to like a doctor and you ask for an STD test, they're not testing you for herpes. Like, you need to specifically ask for this. It's a bit more complicated of a thing to do. So
Totally is, and we still
I mean, if
do
you
it.
want, next time you get up, like, you can show me your most recent STD test. I'd be curious to see if it includes herpes. But
Totally do it.
sure, it could be the case. You got a full panel STD test. My understanding, though, we've had a lot of people in the traditional industry, and this carries on into the trans industry because there's a bit of crossover there. Herpes is pretty prevalent in the traditional industry. In fact, they don't really test for it.
Herpes is prevalent in the entire world. It's 5%, or like, what is it? 1 in 5 people have herpes. And it actually only tests positive, like, not only, but like it's very rare that it tests positive if you don't have an active outbreak.
Do you test positive for herpes?
Never tested positive for herpes.
Oh, okay.
I've never had an outbreak also, so.
Well, there's a difference.
So, I mean, doesn't that just mean you may have it, but you don't know?
That's how it's like with all of us.
Yeah,
But
so there's,
also-
hold on. There's,
Yeah, sure,
so,
but I mean, there'd be a risk assessment difference.
But also, you can only really contract herpes if somebody's having a breakout.
that's,
Well, it's
Not
very,
really
it's
true.
and
very
they can also take
unlikely not to.
antivirals.
yeah,
as
so,
well.
I mean, there's HSV1, there's HSV2, there's like oral herpes, genital herpes, this sort of thing. But people can be like pre-symptomatic. So there might not even be like a ongoing outbreak, but it's the beginning of one, and it's like at a very small micro level, and you can still contract it. Also, condoms don't really
I
help when
mean,
it
but
comes to
this is
herpes.
also like with anyone you have sex with, to be
Sure.
honest. And so, yes, like, but I like.
Sex workers have a higher partner count, though, than the general public.
I've had lower partner count since I've been in sex work, but yes, I know most sex workers might, but yeah, I don't know. I'm very careful now. I don't have sex with a random person if they don't show me a full panel test. So
Sure.
Yeah, I
that's fine.
understand that due to the nature of that industry, many people would want to take additional precautions. Like, I get it. I understand. It's like any job, right? If you were a welder, you would definitely want to wear welding gloves and a mask and this type of thing, because this was like an occupational hazard. But here's the thing. Even if you wear welding gloves and a welding mask and you're a welder, you still have a higher chance of getting a welding burn than somebody who doesn't weld. And that's the whole point,
And
right?
that's what I agree.
Hang on. So the whole point here is just to say that even if it were the case, let's just grant it for the sake of argument, that sex workers had less STDs than the general population, which is not true, but let's just assume for a second it was. I have a surefire 100% way that you can avoid STDs. Can you think of what it could be?
don't have sex.
Yeah, it's pretty simple, right?
Yeah, but we're all gonna
It's
have
complete
sex. So.
inarguable logic, isn't it?
Going over to you, you had maybe something on the STD thing and then something unrelated. Go ahead.
It was like a stupid thought.
Say it.
Well, I guess when he mentioned the gonorrhea and everything, I actually like agree that that in hookup culture, that like I think it could be encouraged to also like not give what I don't want to say the word head. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, you can say that.
I think it should be encouraged not to like, immediately give head the first time that you see someone, just because, you, again, like it could be gonorrhea, it could be, a multitude of things. And usually people don't really care about that because it's just head and then they'll use a condom after when they're doing it. But I just think that in both ways, sometimes it could be avoided. I know maybe it's less fun, but
What was your other thing?